you've been exploring your spirituality and learning more about yourself, and now you're ready to take bold, positive action? Are you seeking clarity about what is really blocking you from your greatest potential? Do you feel like you're so close to a breakthrough, but you can't figure out why you continue to feel stuck at the same level? Join us now for Real Talk with Joyce and Jennifer, two transformational coaches who are eager to share all they've learned over the many years they've each been working with clients, helping them create the life they want. Joyce and Jennifer both have extensive, diverse backgrounds in the art of conscious transformation, and they are here to help you. So tune in now for the insight and tools you need to consciously live, work, and play, so that you can live the life you most deeply long to experience.
Hi, it's Joyce. Welcome. We're excited to be here for our first show.
Yes. Hey there, it's Jennifer. To kick it off, today's topic is about living purposefully. So, Joyce, as I was thinking about the show, Mark Twain's quote immediately came to mind. He said, "The two most important days in your life are the day you are born and the day you find out why."
You know, Jennifer, I love that quote because that is so important. It's very powerful. You know, speaking of powerful, have you seen how Americans have come together to help people in Houston? Wow, some of that footage is really inspirational and has a lot to do with purpose.
Yes, it does. It's a great example of individuals being moved deeply by their sense of purpose. And there's nothing better than a crisis to move us to action.
Absolutely. So let's think about what's different this time from what we experienced at Katrina. It's not the people being desperately dependent on the government. It's the collaboration, the cohesion between the people and the government this time around.
Absolutely. You know, the whole world, and especially the United States, have become so divided over the role of government. When people are moved like what we see in Houston, what you're talking about, Joyce, we automatically come together toward a higher purpose.
Yes, this is how we have to rebuild our communities where people care for each other and take care of each other.
Absolutely. So as good old JFK once said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. Of course, as I mentioned before, there's nothing like a big crisis to move us to do that. But what about those who are still living the regular old rat race? What then?
Well, absolutely. We can talk about that. So many people write to me and ask the question, how do I stop to discover my purpose in my overwhelming, busy life? You know, I'm stuck in this life. I don't want it anymore, but I don't know what to do with it. I don't know how to change. I don't know the first step.
Right. And when you think about it, up until recently, like the last 20 years even, many of us have not had the opportunity to consider the possibility of living a purposeful life. Our history in the U.S. and around the world has been about working hard, making money, and then defining success as a result of both.
Of course. Absolutely. You know, after years of burned out, disconnected from who you are, becoming ill, many of us have come to realize that we are unhappy with the life that we've worked so hard to create. Our current social system has not really supported us to live a life of meaning and purpose. It continues to support the status quo, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Thankfully, you know, many of us have become more conscious and aware of what is truly important in life. We all know what's important in our lives, but now we have the option to align our lives with who we truly are. I mean, just look at us, Joyce. We both experienced this type of metamorphosis in our own lives, and thankfully, we've lived to tell the story.
You bet we did. So it was in the 90s when I was on top of my corporate game. I was making a lot of money. I was living in New York City, which was my dream for most of my life, making things happen. And then I took a trip to Bali, and that was the start of me being called by my soul to make a change. I knew I needed to leave New York, take some time to think about what I wanted to do, and then slowly but surely things started to show themselves. It started with a dream that I had with two words, women and empowerment. So I thought, well, I believe in dreams and I know how this works. So, okay. So I started an empowerment group for women in my friend's living room. I didn't have a strategy. I didn't have a marketing plan. I just started. I remember it well, sitting there with those little cards that had questions out on it. I mean, that was my beginning.
I love that. And I can see your younger self doing this. I, on the other hand, can't say that my younger self was as self-aware. My awakening, so to speak, came on the heels of being diagnosed with a lifelong chronic condition at the ripe old age of 29. I had moved to Atlanta in the early to mid 90s. I had transformed an entire fundraising platform for a nonprofit organization, and then I was quickly elevated into an executive role while I was still in my 20s. So my career, my ambition, it was everything to me until it stole my health.
Well, let's continue to share our stories as we will through this whole series, but hopefully we've at least illustrated how different our experiences can be when purpose starts to present itself. We both have a lot to share, and we both have been through some extraordinary changes because of it, but we made it, and we're here to help you to do the same.
Yes, we are. Joyce, none of it was in vain. Our journeys, as we know, have had plenty of highs and lows, as does everyone's. But we were conscious of when we started living more purposefully, which is what we want to show you, our listeners, today. One thing I want to note is that just because we know when we had our epiphany doesn't mean that our purpose wasn't always playing out.
You know, that's right. And we'll talk about that more in a minute. For now, let's ask the big question of the day. Why would we want to live on purpose, Jennifer?
Right. And for that matter, why have a life purpose? Why not just enjoy life and do what we want until we die? How do we connect the dots between the awakening we're describing and the ability to live purposefully?
Well, you know, Jennifer, it's my belief that each one of us is born with a unique gifts, talents, and a purpose. You know, it's sort of like our fingerprints. It's unique and unlike anyone else's. Each soul that enters the world is unique, and we will never be repeated.
It's true. And it's what makes us more authentic, clear, and free when we choose to live from our purpose. When we make that internal paradigm shift, from working hard to put a roof over our heads to walking a more spiritual, self-aware path, both professionally and personally, where we consciously exercise our natural gifts, we shift from making money to becoming truly prosperous, where we're thriving in all aspects of our lives, our health and our wealth, and everything in between. It's just so liberating.
Yes, it really is. So our purpose is part of our magnificence at birth. So we want to live on purpose because it connects us to who we really are and why we're here on the earth. It helps us answer the questions. Who am I? Where do I belong? When do I feel fulfilled? We are here to discover and unfold our gifts and to serve and give back to the world. So finding our purpose is the starting point of our life.
So it sounds like Mark Twain was right.
I'm sure Mark Twain was. So, last night I just happened to get this email that Dr. Malderon Somé was doing a teleconference about his teleconference, and so I had studied with him, and so I'm going to talk some about him today because He's really a solid model that I hope that this country can utilize some of it. So he's a Western African elder, world-renowned author and teacher, and he speaks about gifts and purpose. These are practices and rituals that have supported his people for thousands of years. So as he tells the story, the elder shaman woman in their community, who is a seer, who can see into the future of children and what their purpose is, has a vision of their purpose. And as they age, they are watched for the unfolding of their gifts. And they're encouraged to find their passion and purpose in life. Maldruma says there's no way that we and our purpose can be ignorant of our completely alienated from each other like twins who are separated at birth. It's inconceivable that we humans could be in this world with no reason. We either know our purpose or it knows us.
I love that, Joyce. I love it. You know, like you said, we either know our purpose or it knows us. I think many struggle to fully understand their purpose. This can leave people often feeling one of two ways. They're either completely unaware that they have a purpose, or they feel a little empty as they try to pursue clarity about their purpose. Either way, a person can feel unfulfilled, when really our purpose is always playing out, whether we're conscious of it or not. We just want to be conscious of it.
We do.
So let's come back and talk about that. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and we will pick that back up, and let's talk about how and why.
Your conscious lifestyle on steroids. OMTimes Radio. IOM FM. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of OMTimes Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of OMTimes. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
Have you or someone you love ever experienced a major loss? The kind of loss so cataclysmic that it divided life into before and after. The death of a beloved person or pet, the loss of a job, a health challenge, can leave us feeling empty, lost, alone, wondering if we'll ever feel joy again. Loss is universal. Grief is part of the human condition. But in our modern world, we've lost the ability to understand, share, and integrate our grief. We're expected to grieve privately and quickly get over it. This November 3rd through 5th, the Atlanta Grief and Loss Center will be hosting a retreat that will allow you to fully feel, integrate, and catalyze your grief. Our retreat is called Heartbroken Open, Grief as a Sacred Path to Renewal and Rebirth. If you are grieving, or if you work with clients who are grieving, you'll find more information about this powerful retreat at atlantagriefandlosscenter.com/retreats or call 404-881-1322.
More than 24 million Americans have an autoimmune disorder, and that number continues to grow. I'm Sharon Saylor, and I'm one of those 24 million. To put that number in perspective, cancer affects about 9 million and heart disease up to 22 million. That's why I've brought together top experts and those thriving regardless of their diagnosis to bring you the latest, most up-to-date information. Join me, Sharon Saylor, Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern, for the Autoimmune Hour on Life Interrupted Radio to find out how to live your life uninterrupted.
Listen and imagine. It takes 5 seconds to send a text, and for those 5 seconds, you're driving blind. Life is worth more than a text. Stay alive. Don't text and drive.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Welcome back, everybody. So I'm going to start and we'll talk some more, have some more dialogue about purpose. So I think that most people have at least a glimmer of the awareness of their life purpose, sort of within their inner being. It often feels like a yearning and an inclination that continues to pull at you and never stops. Sometimes it's right in front of your eyes, but you just don't allow yourself to see it because you don't stop and slow down. Like when you're hunting for your missing keys and then discover that they've been right in front of your eyes the whole time.
Which has happened to me so many times, Joyce. So that slow down message is really an important one. I think whether someone fully understands their purpose and how to articulate it isn't nearly as crucial to their well-being as choosing to live on purpose might be. So I would encourage listeners to make a fundamental decision today to live more intentionally, consciously, mindfully. Because when we make this inner paradigm shift, it can be a game changer. We experience a higher quantity and quality of meaningful moments that then begin to comprise a far more rewarding, peaceful, fulfilling, and happy life. Would you agree?
Absolutely. So I'm asking the question, what is purpose? The search for meaning in life has been written about and debated by great thinkers, prophets, spiritual teachers throughout humanity. There are many definitions of life purpose and many ways to discover, unfold, and experience your life purpose. Richard Leder, who works with AARP in their purpose division, is a nationally ranked executive coach and purpose expert, and he says your life purpose consists of the central motivating aims of your life, the reasons you get up in the morning.
That's awesome. And interestingly, to add to the mix, in the latest 21-day meditation challenge that Oprah and Deepak Chopra co-host, Deepak shared the mantra, "Joy is my highest purpose." I often think that many of us were conditioned to work hard and to believe that is our purpose, when really our purpose shows up when we experience moments of joy, not hardship. I mean, hardship can show us when we're not paying attention, which we'll talk about in a minute. But when we feel the most energized, it's when we know we're coming into more conscious contact with our purpose.
Yes, absolutely. And one of my favorite teachers that I've studied with about purpose is a nationally known expert on helping people to find their life purpose. Tim Kelly says the question is the why. Why are you here? Who are you meant to be? What are you meant to do? Notice the question is not what do you like or what to do. The question of purpose is about what you are designed to do.
And if you really pay attention to what you desire at your deepest level inside, you'll find that your desire does ultimately align with your purpose. Your desire is leading you to your joy, which is signaling you to explore this more. And then what you're talking about, Joyce, designed to do, that's to support the process of going through the experiencing your purpose. And yet somehow most of us were conditioned to believe that we can only experience joy after we've earned it, which to me is a cultural travesty. Instead of a world of joyful people living out their greatest gifts, we have overwhelmed, sick, angry, judgmental beings walking around the planet in a state of either mediocrity or misery or sometimes both. Millions of them. So I guess I feel like what we are designed to do, as you say, is so crucial, but it goes in to support what we are joyful about.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So yes, I believe we all have a life purpose that is unique to us and that we already know it, or some deeper aspect of it knows our purpose, as we just said. So how we go about discovering your unique purpose is part of your journey. My journey is one way. Your journey is another. They have similarities, but we're not on the same journey. No matter what anyone says I have found that the journey to purpose takes more than a weekend or a few weeks. And unfortunately, I hear lots of teachers saying that you can come to a weekend retreat and find your purpose. For me, I just don't, my purpose has been, for most of my life, I've been on this journey to help women to awaken, to fully live their most courageous, authentic, vibrant life. So my purpose has manifested over my lifetime through a lot of things that I've done, such as my nursing career, coaching, teaching, fashion, travel, jazz that I love and have worked with for years, painting, and through writing, speaking, and radio host. All of those things have been powerful for me.
So Joyce, I love that. So just so our listeners are clear, because I think that you're making such an important point, I just want to clarify, are you saying that your purpose is like a thread and it's evolved throughout most of your life from many of the things you've done that has led you to discover and remember your purpose as you go forward?
Yes, I'm saying that many different passions and interests have allowed me to remember, and that's the word, remember, wake up, who I really am. I've been a nurse and a coach and a teacher, but that is not my purpose. And this is a really important point because many people think their career is their purpose. It's not. My career is the way I deliver or present my purpose in the world to serve others. It's important to understand this because it's a meme or a thought in this culture that career is our purpose, so we have to choose the right career. It has nothing really to do with that necessarily. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yep.
So purpose can guide life decisions, influence our behavior, shape goals, offer a sense of direction, and create meaning.
Yeah, all of that. It's great. And it all makes sense. Yes, Joyce. And it's a fantastic example of how purpose plays out in everything you love, not just your career. I also think another point to make about this is that everyone on the planet is important. Their purpose is important. So each person has a purpose. Every person is designed to come onto this earth with a purpose for their soul's evolution, as well as to make an impact simply by living among us. You mentioned serving others. I think when we're conscious of serving others, we feel that joy, we feel that sense of purpose so profoundly, right? But some people were meant to come in with a bang and shake up the status quo. And others may find those people insane or insanely annoying because they came here to preserve the importance of history and its many lessons. They don't want to shake it up. But each of them is equally important. Even our negative reaction to others' purpose can be a catalyst to cause us to live out our purpose more passionately.
Yes, and so let's take U.S. politics now, which is certainly in a mess, but no matter how divided we become, it is still purposeful. We can't collectively evolve into the highest form of humanity or create a culture of love if we don't first excavate the root causes of our fear and division, which we can get into more in the future shows.
Yes, and we will. But for today, it simply amounts to this. We can't change what we don't own, right? I think Dr. Phil coined that phrase a long time ago. But we can't own what we don't yet see or understand. So, in walks someone like Donald Trump, and bam, suddenly clarity and passion within others quickly emerges. Every single person in this scenario is living out their purpose. And as we each do this, we collectively evolve toward being whole. We tend to think of purpose as soft and simply spiritual, but it is so much more. It is essential to our existence and our evolution. Or maybe I should just say it's the essence of our existence.
Yes, it is the essence. And I have also found that when I ask most people, what is your purpose, they usually respond, looking at me. They're confused, they're unclear, kind of vague answers. They don't really know what their purpose is. Yet most people that I ask want to know what their purpose is. So although they know, they seem to be looking outside of themselves for the answers and relying on so-called experts to tell them their purpose.
Yeah, yes, I see that too. I know for myself, my greatest catastrophe caused me to live more purposefully. It is totally that wake-up call. And it forced me to understand my purpose better than any other exercise in my life ever did. I had to lose nearly everything, my marriage, my health, my money, to wake me up more fully to my purpose, which, I have come since to understand that it's to help us all to master the art of transformation. So, of course, my life has gone through a metamorphosis many times over throughout the years, some wonderful, some painful. And I'm certainly not recommending that everyone just lose their marriage and health and money to find their purpose. But for me, it was that one real doozy of a crisis that forced me to see it all so much more clearly, and then to choose to live more intentionally from that day forward. And so that now I look back at that crisis and I'm grateful for it, because the quality of my life is so substantially greater than it ever was before that happened. So
It's incredible, Jennifer. And I absolutely understand this, because I've had a lot, not the same experiences, but I've had many of the same experiences, just of transformational change that devastated my life. We're taking a break now, and we'll be back soon.
Free your mind with OMTimes Radio, IOM FM.
Change and growth are part of natural life and also part of your spiritual life. Everyone needs support and guidance, especially during life passages. Upgrade yourself with the OMTimes Experts program. With OMTimes Experts, you have access to the best intuitive coaches, spiritual teachers, counselors, astrologists, and oracles. Our team was carefully selected so you can trust. Find out more at experts.omtimes.com.
Depleted by the rat race? Depressed by the attitudes of the human race? The book Honor explains why and how to transform your life from confusion and heartache to one that you most authentically desire. Join OMTimes radio host Jennifer McKenna Weinbaum as she takes you on her journey from her darkest period to her happiest and healthiest life. Entertaining, enlightening, Honor will help you find and maintain the love and light in your own life. Visit www.universalabundance.com to pre-order your copy.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living, a chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Listen, my life changed because someone was there to get me to use drugs. No one can understand. People think that having someone who will listen makes it better. I need help.
I'm listening.
I need help. I think that having someone who will listen makes it better. People understand. No one can get me to use drugs. My life changed because someone was there to listen.
Go to heretolisten.com for tips and tools to turn addiction around. Brought to you by the Ad Council.
So welcome back. Joyce, you started to tell a story that I really want to hear. So if you could pick that back up, that'd be great.
Sure, absolutely. So I was just saying that I had started my empowerment work with women, But I was still holding on to my old life at the same time. I was hanging on to the belief that I had to keep my job as a traditional mental health nurse in order to pay the bills. Well, that caught up with me. I've learned a few painful lessons myself as my material life began to deconstruct.
Yes, but our most painful experiences lead us to our most extraordinary awakening. So the more we begin to understand the theme of our life, the more clearly we will see our purpose, and the more consciously we can live on purpose.
Oh, yes, I know that for sure.
And so to connect the dots between purpose and joy or desire, we must begin to recognize those moments when we feel our vitality. I can say with great clarity and conviction that I am fully energized every single time I help someone in their own transformation. So whether I'm coaching someone or speaking to a group or even having a conversation in the grocery store checkout line, just the simple act of helping others understand their journey fully transforms me into a state of positivity and vitality. And that's when I remember, here I am again. I'm having this touch point with my purpose, and I can feel it. I'm so energized by it.
And I have an experience like that too. I just know that that is really a clue for me and for everybody, is that when you are feeling that energy with what you're doing, that's your passion moving maybe into your purpose. When you really feel this is what makes me alive. It's very different than just doing regular work. So when I work with women and they have an aha moment that they're making some sort of shift or discovered what they're doing, that is deeply fulfilling for me.
Yes. And I know, Joyce, you said earlier, and I totally agree with you, that it's not that we rely on experts to show us our purpose, that it's within. But I do know that as a purpose expert, you've been really great at helping people do exercises to pull that out of themselves, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So can you share?
So, there are many ways to start that exploration of discovering your purpose. So most of the process is internal, not external. So, and I know people like external stuff, going to conferences, going to retreats, and thinking they're going to get it from somebody. But this is internal work. So if you're starting on your path to find your purpose and have no idea what your purpose might be, here are some suggestions of ways that I think I started working on this and that others I work with have started on this. So one of the first ones is just finding a quiet place and getting relaxed and connect to your higher source. Whatever that is, it does not matter. It could be in the God form. It could be goddess. It could be nature. It could be anything. But it has to be connected to some sort of higher source. Have a large piece of paper or a journal and create several columns at the top of the page and write these questions. What are my gifts? What are my passions? What do I value? What makes your day? Secondly, get quiet and meditate. Pray or just get still. Ask your higher self, again, your wisdom self, your deeper self, God self, it doesn't matter. What is trying to come forth through me? You will need to be able to identify your higher self and communicate with your higher self. Ask any questions you want to know and write them down. Your higher self will give you information back if you listen to it. It doesn't always come as a big loud rush, but I guarantee you when I sit down and do a dialogue and ask my deeper self a question that I need information about, I get information back. The third suggestion is, if you're ready to take a deep soul dive and start to engage in living from your life purpose, I suggest you, 1, take a virtual or live event class to start with on discovering your life purpose. And I suggest my life purpose class, which is coming up in January of 2018, of course. Also, one of the highly recommend this, to read Tim Kelly's book, True Purpose. It's one of the best books I have ever read, and I've read many, on how to find your deeper purpose. Or I also suggest to take Maldroma's retreats. He has one great retreat coming up for men right now. And so you could always check him out at Maldrome Sommet, and it's all the information is there about him if what he's doing calls to you. Here's my blinking red light. Be sure the person you study with is modeling how it is to be living from their purpose, or at least be on the path to creating for themselves. Because someone walking and talking, someone who's walking the talk and not just talking the talk, because there are plenty of people out there, as we all know, who are really not living a life of purpose or anywhere near it, but are teaching this stuff. So be cautious who you want to, give your energy to and learn from. Ask questions about who they are and what's going on with their life and how are they living on purpose right now. Other ways to explore your purpose include dreaming, painting, automatic writing, engaging in shamanic ceremony, and spending time in nature, which is a wonderful way.
I love it. Those are awesome, Joyce. Thank you so much. And I hope our listeners take the time to do what you've suggested. And just, if you would, can you elaborate a little bit on automatic writing? Can you share with some what that really is?
Well, automatic writing is where you get yourself relaxed, like in a meditative or at least a relaxation state where you're not so conscious of your thoughts rambling around. And you start asking questions and you just allow the answers to sort of flow on the paper. And you could actually do this through painting or any form where information would be put onto something. So automatic writing is really, you start working with your unconscious, where information is coming from you that's not coming from your ego. And we will have sessions on ego and how to discern
Yes,
what is coming from the ego and what is coming from the higher self, because they're very different. But it's really important to know when the ego is talking, and it's very different kind of information that comes from the ego that comes from the divine. So.
Perfect. Great. Thank you for that.
So, Jennifer, what have you found to be helpful when you are coaching leaders on life purpose in business and your organizations that you work in?
Well, that can get really tricky for sure. When we start talking about purpose in the workplace, leaders can quickly get confused between goals, objectives, mission, and vision statements, all the traditional planning. And then, of course, there's a lot of wordsmithing that they can get lost in through that whole process. So much of that is just traditional strategic planning. But I love taking the role of facilitator to help them filter through that confusion and get to the clarity that will set them on a new, more energized trajectory as a business. And then it allows for them to execute their plans with such greater ease and enjoyment, actually. So today, if any of our listeners are business leaders, I would encourage them to make one commitment, and that is just to simply be thoughtful and intentional about why you are in business. It's not just to make money. We build business plans to ensure that, but our plans must serve as the link between our passion and our action. Understand your passion and allow it to help create your vision, which, by the way, is our next show's topic. And then everything and everybody, the right people and the best actions will flow out of that vision with greater ease. This is a starting point for business leaders to become more conscious in their practices, but we can talk about that more at another time when we get to vision. For now, Joyce, I'd love to know what your thoughts are about where we are in general in becoming more conscious.
Well, I believe that there are, at this point on the planet, there are millions of us all over the world who are waking up and becoming more conscious. And that makes my heart just really beat because, oh my gosh, I've been waiting so long for this, for more people to step up. And, I see it every day in my clients when I connect with younger entrepreneurs and health and wellness practitioners, healers, nonprofits, artists, teachers, and actually some corporations are working with purpose with their CEOs at the top, which is what we really need. We're all determined to make change on the planet and live the life we truly deserve. Unfortunately, there are also millions of people who still live as victims and take no responsibility for their lives. And we see them every day on the news. For me, all I can say is I have to stay in the light and reach out to the souls who are yearning to make change now.
Yes. And it does require us to be more conscious, right? I mean, anytime we feel like we're going into victim mode, we kind of lose that consciousness. So let's change tracks for a minute. Let's talk about the radical disruption that our purpose can cause. Can we talk about that for a minute, Joyce?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that happens particularly when we ignore our purpose and we put all of our focus into those old thoughts like paying our bills and, going more into that old work hard, play hard mentality. It's easy to then be in a situation for a radical disruption to happen to us.
Yeah, it is. So again, because I respect Maldroma's work so much, I want to cite more of it. He calls this period turbulence. And it's important to know that your purpose doesn't mean that your life is going to be dripping with honey for the rest of your life. Because in the middle of all this, life can be smooth and we may get off course. So somewhere along the way, we get woken up. So I'm saying that even though you get on purpose, you can get off purpose. We'll be back right after this message.
Bringing you the best of the conscious minds in the world. OMTimes Radio, your conscious lifestyle on steroids.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free. AscendingHearts.com.
Hello, I'm Lisa Berry. Join me every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time for Light on Living. A chance to see new, hear different, and feel more as I shine the spotlight on all the ways to lighten the load of life's challenges. Light on Living is your link to that new way you're looking for, that new understanding that will enhance your life, and that positive connection that will support your growth. So join me and you'll gain insight and start to see things in a new way that motivates you.
Chris, you're not acting like a grown-up in our relationship.
Am too.
There's your comic book collection, the race car bed.
I'm young at heart, but I put money into my 401k every paycheck. I'm taking control over my financial life, and that feels pretty grown-up to me.
Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy ways to save, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org. Are those footy pajamas?
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. So as I was just saying, that just because that you find your purpose and you start down that path does not mean that everything from there on is going to be just smooth as dandy and everything is fine in your life. Maybe in the beginning life it might be smooth, but what I've found that certainly has happened to me many times is I get off course. I'm there, but I go off on a different track, and that's that happens along the way for all of us. And you got to get back on course. That's what happens. And Jennifer, you and I know we've been through wake-up calls, and it can be very traumatic.
Amen, sister. Yes. What I have found over the years through my own life and the lives of many clients is that we are conditioned in the first part of our lives on a belief system that challenges our purpose. It's usually right around midlife when the breakdown occurs.
Yes, and if you stay asleep, you will get a serious wake-up call. It could be a car accident, a horrible diagnosis, whatever it takes to push your purpose more in focus. We are not intended to walk around blindly and apathetically. We have an important reason to be here. Maldroma says we have spirit guides who are walking with us. He says they can get angry. I say they're simply going to hold us accountable for our purpose.
Right. When you say going on and off course, I mean, I really believe that everything is in perfect divine order. And so when we get off course, those painful moments are they're there for a purpose, to get us back to our own purpose. But really, our brains are like computers. They run on an operating system, and they're made up of neural pathways that have been hardwired since birth and even before. And though we are living out our purpose in those early years, we're completely unconscious of it. Most often, we're focused on pleasing our parents, gaining acceptance and approval, and earning love, as opposed to living in a world where we all express love openly and freely.
So many people are walking around asleep. They're numb. They're unaware. And I say if we don't live out our purpose, we're going to get our asses kicked. It's just that simple.
That's right. So we get to midlife, and suddenly there's a massive disruption because we have been walking around, as you say, asleep and numb and unaware. We're paying bills and we're just doing our thing, and we're not living joyfully. We're not living intentionally or mindfully. So there's a massive disruption. Maybe we walk out on our marriage or lose our cushy job. Maybe our health fails or a family member dies. But whatever it is, it's going to force us to go within and pull from our very center the strength of our own unique inner power.
Yes, deep into your core of who you are.
Yep. And that's when purpose comes up to the surface fast. It's almost like, when those traumas hit, we go into survival mode. And not the survival mode that's the pay the bills survival mode. It's more like a true attempt at living again, right? And so just like we talked about with the people in Houston, a catastrophe hits and boom, everyone moves into a sense of higher purpose. And they start taking action, helping others who are in a grave state.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you have any client stories, Joyce, that you'd like to share about how you've helped someone discover more about their purpose?
I have. I have a great story, fabulous story of a woman who came into my office and was really depressed. Her relationship was on the rocks. And she'd just been fired or let go of. And she just sort of she was one of these people we're talking about. She was sort of numb. She was not aware. She didn't know what to do. So often if people don't have any clue of where they want to go, these are some of the exercises I help them do. One, I asked her, the first thing was when the next time she came in, was to bring in photographs of things that she loved. That called to her. It didn't have to be about purpose. It starts to get the brain going and wake you up a little bit. So she brought in all these beautiful pictures. They were all the beautiful things that she loved in her life. Some were about painting and architecture and trips and travel and that. And I have done that also. So we looked at that and kind of put some threads together for her to understand some things that she really liked in her life. The next thing that we talked about was her breaking out of her everyday mode of what she did, out of the box a little bit. So she agreed to take some classes. Again, these are not necessarily the classes that we're going to relate directly at first to her purpose. But she took a woodworking class because she wanted to make something for her house. She took a bartending class, and she took a class that was for people who wanted to work in a club and do the music. I've forgotten what that's called, but the person who spins the music, whatever it is. And and she took a sailing, I think she took a sailing trip also, a class. So those were things that she thought she could at least get something out of. So I can tell you, out of this, started to get some energy, started to get something going. And she said, well, if I had to do a job, I guess I could do, I really like music a lot. So I could probably do that. I could probably work in a club and do that. Or I could probably maybe be a bartender. And those were just probablys. So I said, well, let's keep going. Which one do you really like? And she said, well, I really like the music. So one day she walked in, like a couple weeks later, she walked in, she said, I've signed up for classes at a media school, and I'm going to learn all about production of producing music. And I'm like, wow. So this had nothing to do with her life previously other than she liked music. And so she took that, I think it was a 6 months or 7 month or 8 month. It was a long class here in Atlanta. She studied all of that, how you produce stuff and all these classes. And so as this started to shift, her energy started to shift. She was becoming, her relationship was getting better. She did a lot of clarity with her relationship. And she was starting to have some energy back about life. And so after that, the next thing, I think I had stopped seeing her for a while, then I saw her again. And the next thing she was doing was in graduate school, where she went back to school and she was getting a degree in video production. So now, just let me tell you this, I see her all the time on Facebook. There she is. And she is doing these videos for artists and producing this incredible stuff. And that's her talent. So, I mean, this is just one example of how if you just start and you don't know what you're doing, it can lead you there. But it took her, I'd say a year and a half, maybe 2 years, to really get on board with what it was going to be. And I don't think she's even gotten to where she's going to be yet. I think this is pretty much on the path, but I think there's more to come for her that's at a higher level. So that's my story that I love, because I see her on Facebook all the time, and I'm thrilled that she's there. I love her. So how about you, Jennifer? Jennifer, have I lost you?
I believe you had. Somehow my mic went out, so I'm sorry. I suspect you told a fabulous story.
I did. You might have heard it before. So.
Okay, well, so you can tell me when we're not on air.
I will.
I'm very sorry I left you hanging. You know me in technology.
Just a second.
Okay, very good. All right, so before we wrap up the show, I do have an exercise that I would like to share. It's just another attempt to help us go within and start to look at who we are, to indicate more about why we're here. I published many years ago a journal called Godspeed, and on page 121, there's a quick exercise called Natural Assets. It's very simple. It just runs a list of questions to help you become introspective about what you offer to the world that is part of your gift. So the questions, real quickly, to ponder are, what have others said to you to compliment you over the years? What do others thank you for the most? What do childhood friends and family members say they remember most fondly about you? What do you do effortlessly that others marvel over and admire? And what do you enjoy doing the most with your free time? Those are just a couple of, thought starters, if you will, to help our listeners get started if they haven't, in fact, really discovered what their purpose is.
Well, Jennifer, I love these questions. They're really good questions at the beginning for all of us, because many are at the beginning. We all began at the beginning. We have to start somewhere. We just don't start knowing all this stuff, and so we have to go through some of these, these classes and these questions. We have to spend some time internally. And so one of the things, I know we're getting ready to wrap up, but one of the things that I want to say is starting out, being intentional, being mindful of what's going on in your life is critical. If you're going to live your purpose, you've got to become aware of what's going on in your life and how is your life playing out. Are you happy? Are you not happy? Do you like it? Yeah.
Yes, and I think that if you live on purpose, if you live with greater intention, your purpose will become more and more obvious every day. So I want to thank everyone for listening to us, and thank you, Joyce, for being part of this with me and inviting me to the program. So we look forward to many more.
You do. Thank you, everybody. Love you.
Follow us on Facebook or join us at www.joyceandjennifer.com. We'll be sending out tools and exercises for our future episodes. And in the meantime, here's to living purposefully. Thanks so much.